We're streaming.
Okay.
Live.
All right, so welcome back. Thanks for being relatively punctual. Let's get started with the bond on generic backup implementation. Are you ready?
Yes.
All right.
So we started this discussion in Barcelona, I guess, to use volume driver as backup. So in general, it sounds like a good feature, but when I started to implement this, I don't really think it looks well. I mean, there are a lot of codes that should be changed. General code manager, backup manager. Okay. So I proposed first patch to import backup, to configure backup service by backup class name, driver class name. So this feature for volume drivers. And what I like in this never becomes implementation, my current implementation, to be honest, that we have to repeat a lot of stuff that we got on volume API. Because we have to prepare some data objects to pass to the drivers. We have to make validation, some validation. And we have to repeat some code from volume API or schedule to it, and sometimes even volume manager to backup manager. And I hope nobody will like to copy paste the code. So there you go. And so my question is, maybe we can do for the maybe not so easy way, but it's a more useful and more powerful to create backup via scheduling.
Yeah. What does that mean?
Yeah.
So,
It's a different topic in terms of backups and backup via scheduler, but in case if we implement this feature, we can do it better from scratch.
so I think I understand. There's kind of two things, right? One is to actually tie the backup service into the existing cinder scheduler.
Yeah.
That's the first part. Which kind of leads me to the next thing that I've often wondered about. And I don't know a ton about the backup stuff, so I'm not the best person. I have kind of wondered if we've gotten past the point of the backup code being the experimental thing off independent by itself. And maybe it should be integrated into the existing volume. No?
Start with basically the CPU is doing compression. Database connections are dropped.
Yep.
And you don't want it anywhere you want.
Yep, I forgot. Like I said, I don't follow the back.
But that's not problem. Why what's required or what do you think it will improve the design for this feature, moving the creation of backup to the scheduler?
So in this case, you will have now scheduler can prepare data for code creation, and can do it stuff that's good. He creates some needed objects to pass the volume driver, the volume manager driver. It does some scheduling to not create that volumes by one host.
Yeah, but the thing with Cinder backup, unless it has changed and I missed it, you only have two ways of deploying the backup service, which are tightly coupled with the volume, which means they can only back up the volume that have been created on that node, in which case scheduling is not really necessary. You can only do backups in the service that is on the same node.
Yes, but when you create 10 backups at once,
Yeah, they will go to the same place. Yeah,
not
they will-
simple, some random, but
If the volumes, if the same volumes are in the same Cinder volume node, they will always go to the same Cinder backup service, no matter if they go through a scheduler or not. And if you're doing the non-coupled version, they could go to different ones because the RabbitMQ would basically be round robin through the different backups. So I don't know.
it doesn't work real good.
But what kind of deployment were you doing with them? You have multiple backup services?
We try to do it, but unfortunately, it doesn't work what random robot scheduling. It works much like random scheduling, and
Your chance schedule.
yeah, and you can get situations when two backups will be created on node one, and other 8 backups will be created on the second one.
Oh, don't get me wrong. I'm all up to move things to the scheduler. Almost any operation I would rather resolve through a scheduler because we end up doing crazy stuff just because there's no schedule in between. I just didn't understand why. But
And what did you say was the problem with this backup in the scheduler that we tried to?
no,
No?
no,
What I missed?
No, I was just trying to figure out what the problem was and why putting in the scheduler as an improved. And it's the case where it's not tightly coupled and you actually want to go from Robin or based on, yeah.
Is that
But
built
there's-
You can use random robot, you can implement it, but I hope it's properly fixed. Lot of issues, performance issues.
I have a problem right now because in the non-coupled version, all the backup services must absolutely go to the same backend. You cannot define different backends, so it's only a matter of using the CPU by spreading the creation or what.
Yeah, it's one of the points.
Okay.
So for now, we can use different backup. We can, but to be honest, I don't know if this feature is needed for users. So I was requested about this feature only once, to have different backup storages.
Oh, different backup storage.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that means completely changing the backup service.
Yeah,
It's not only about moving into the scheduler, but we're doing a couple more stuff and probably adding, like we have in the Cinder volume, multi-backend. So, no, I mean, if you want to go, just start going that fast, then that's how.
So can you sure that copy the volume service and the backup service, rename?
search replace, volume replace backup?
Yeah.
Done.
And now we only have 2 copies of the volume service.
they can go forward without changing this scheduler. That's one to clarify if you want it, because the factory manager, it's good. I thought that it's good time to do it, not together, but not in parallel, but that I said. It's getting through. But I like the proposal to implement some like round robin, but fair round robin on electoral choices. Better.
And what was the idea?
So I was just saying, and I don't know if this is problem or not, but it could be that the settings that we're using right now for Rabbit are not actually run auto. We can actually enforce that.
The problem that they are wrong in general with words. So if you're sending create query, create, you only have two services. You're distributing all create to the same service. That's the problem. It's one routing service, not creating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is possible to run volume characteristic and the volume that is not in another server. It is possible to have a volume detector running in a different server than the volume server.
Yes.
Yeah, right now we can, they were a couple of releases ago, and now it's the default deployment.
Mm-hmm.
So you can have multiple backups, but the idea is that they have to use the exact same backend and the same pool, because
We can have two backup servers, backing up the volume of one volume server. Can you, if you want to split, for example, split the load of the backup of a volume server, then create two backup servers and configure the two to pick up that volume server.
Yes.
Is it possible?
The idea, you have two ways to deploy it. Either the backup service can only back up volumes from that same node, or they can back up from any node, and then you can deploy them. You can scale them for some purpose.
Then in this case, this scheduler would make sense, because it would be to have real parity this situation. Because you have many volume servers.
I don't know how many changes to the backup service would be needed, because the way right now it's being scheduled is a little funny. You actually change the host field in the database dynamically and things like that. But I'm okay with moving the scheduling of backup creation to the scheduling. I think it's a good idea.
So would that mean a new scheduler implementation in backup, or would that mean trying to leverage the existing scheduler?
Basically, I would use the system.
Just have it check into.
It should not be too complicated to code in the scheduler.
New messages.
Yeah. And regarding the backup, I have to fix that issue where the creation uses the same green thread, so if the other green thread starts, I think we fixed that. Then we may also, to fix a CPU bound operation, we may want to be able to support the cinder backup services on multiple processes. So if you have a node that you want to say only do for backup, right now it only uses one processor, and it's wasteful if you actually want it. So we may want to add the possibility. It's really simple. It could be a configuration option, and calling the service with workers equal that configuration option. And since it's CPU bound in most cases, it will improve the performance.
In most cases, it's not CPU bound. In most cases, it's idle.
Well, I don't know, you would be amazed the number of cases where basically the backup service is one person uses, and all the SQL connections that get dropped. And yeah, but yeah, IO is also one.
So add it to the scheduler. Right? Yeah. Okay. I wasn't thinking about that, right, but I guess that does make a lot of sense, because if you have those checking in to the volume scheduler, the volumes just get off, and then you pick which one you want, that's perfect.
So we need to make the scheduler aware of backup services.
Yeah.
And
So, pick up what you want to finish storage. We're talking about.
So how much, I feel like we kind of, missed so the generic implementation of this, was by using the scheduler, are you solving the problems that you were having in implementing the generic volume-based implementation?
So, not solving issues, but we make my life easier.
Okay.
Easier.
Okay,
A lot easier.
so since we have agreement on the scheduler, you can go forward, and if you run into other issues, you can bring it up and go there.
Thank you.
All right, I just wanted to make sure that we actually resolve the issue.
Yeah, not about generic pickup, but about pickup in general. I would like to raise this topic once more. Good morning, and so now we. Use the same logic, so we what we when that implemented the feature of not doing
that's what I thought you would put looking about that. You want to bring that up again?
So now we don't know. Do this driver work or not? We know for sure what an event or there and hope for sleep, but I'm not sure. Yeah.
The remote.
So we can do this requirement monthly, so that goes one or two days. Certify vendors, and we have some guy and finally out. We get it from the one and use it. And here we maybe. But we have to prepare vendors. Maybe the driver or maybe customer.
The only downside of that though is, well, no.
I really understand.
That's a valid point. No, what I was going to say is, to the question of third-party CI, it kind of sucks for me because now I have to find the resources to deploy Swift as well. Sucks.
But the Swift advanced for backup is already tested. I mean, it's the one we are currently testing.
Oh, never mind.
Where does it get tested?
So the code we have for backup is actually on the
Doing it somewhere.
Which is the default data stack.
That's why I propose to use NFS.
Yeah. I mean, when somebody said, let's use Swift, I said, it was already used.
No, it was,
Yeah.
it wasn't me, yeah, it was him.
Okay, but the whole theory of CI is that we go look somewhere and see if it's red or green. I don't think anybody knows where to go look to see if this wouldn't anymore.
That's not the point here.
Well, that's what I asked earlier, and no one answered the question of what the point was, so.
But yeah, we can do it with NFS or with the set driver. Yeah.
We got ready for self-driver in the testing volumes, I guess. I think we test self-backups with the
GRBTK.
no, with self-drop on what.
Yeah, there you
Yeah, probably.
So the LIO one is actually currently failing because it's trying to run backup tests. Because for whatever reason, it's opting to run more tests than a bunch of other jobs.
So as you try to get the NFS backup driver set up, can you please document that?
Sure.
Great. Because then we can use that as the reference
Yes.
to point other people to.
That's the idea.
No, but these businesses are running in the CIs, not running in the
Oh, yeah, Sean, you're gonna put a revert patch up for solid fire.
So, yeah, too late,
No.
I hope.
Let's see who's faster here.
Keep forgetting, yeah, you will be. So I keep forgetting the base of Bluetooth anyway, which Cloud Archives doesn't have pipeline.
So it looks like we got some agreement, got a plan, how to do it.
Yes,
Thank you.
Well,
Thank you.
Thank you for continuing to work that. I think the scheduler direction is good. And, you know, if we can get an example on how to set up a CI environment and have other people work from that, that's great. So,
So this was
Thank you.
actually discussed, this was actually discussed about the Google driver in depth at one point, and I can't remember what the conclusion was. But do you remember the Google backup driver?
Yeah,
There was a whole discussion about this same thing.
being testing it and
Right.
knowing it works. Yeah, the Google backup driver was done by a consulting firm in India, and I'm not sure how closely they ever tied to Google or not. So I think when we accepted that in, we just assumed that they had tested it and made sure that it really worked. But we never,
I tested it.
you did test it, okay.
I actually wrote my own version.
Yeah.
So when I had to review it, I knew changes needed to be made, and I actually tested it.
Oh.
Yes. It used to work, and I things have changed.
Yeah, that's the other problem too. Even if they did test it well at the time, we have no idea has it been routing error or what. I don't know. And at the time, we didn't have a policy of CI for backup drivers. So now if we do have a policy for that, I don't even know who we would go to. I can call up Google and.
Somebody would have to pay for it.
Yeah. We can Google it, but.
So we didn't actually write down what we agreed on as far as policy.
Well, I think what we agreed upon is that we're gonna try getting one set up.
Okay.
And then decide what we're going to do after that. Does that make sense?
If we decide that we require it, I think I would be able to find out which one not.
Okay.
I should do it.
Good.
We're just adding burdens in everywhere.
Any second parties have
The party of the first part. All right. This is gonna be nice.
All right.
Tell me about your zone driver, or lack thereof.
Well, we had talked about this sort of in the past, because Cisco has been an issue for running tests with the zone manager. But, at least at the time, Brocade was pretty good about running their CI. I don't think Brocade has been around for quite a while now.
We're still.
Oh.
Hey,
Wow. Hi.
Sorry, so don't count us out yet. We're working on it. Unfortunately, I don't have the resources to run on the DevStack gate. I only can run on DevStack, and right now it's not working, so.
Oh, and actually, I just looked at the results. There was a successful run 11 days ago, so someone somewhere is running Brocade tests.
Yeah, it was running, and then it broke like around September 4th or something, so.
Okay, cool. Glad to hear that. Thank you. Well, that changes a little bit, but I did, I guess I just wanted to bring that up for attention that, you know, yeah, there's only 2 drivers, and yeah, someone points out there's only 2 vendors really doing this anymore. But if we do get to the point where Brocade is no longer able to run their CI, Cisco continues to not care about running CI, do we just leave this feature in as kind of a unsupported piece of Cinder that you can run if you want to take that risk, or do we actually remove fiber channel zone management? So I think since Brocade is here, that's great. So I don't think that's an action that we want to take right now, but just bringing it up so that if things change, it's not a big surprise for everybody.
I have a vote.
Well, I think your vote is assumed.
Very good.
Very nice.
Yeah, so that's it. No real thing unless anyone else has anything else to say about it, but.
So, Angela, are you gonna be able to be more engaged and keep it running now?
Yeah, we're working on getting someone else to take over. So
Okay.
I'm sure you guys are all aware of the whole Broadcom thing, so we're trying to work things out. Because Broadcom is buying Brocade, so there's a lot of resource issues right now.
So this is Jay Bryan.
I know.
Just making sure you know. Can you just please keep in touch with me so that I know where you guys are at and what's going on?
Yeah, definitely. And also, we do have some future work to do. So we do have plans to actually do some more work on our driver. So we'll keep the CI running.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's good to hear. So yeah, just keep actively in touch, and it's good to hear you again.
Yeah.
That actually reminds me that one other point I wanted to talk about with this is people, I'm assuming non-Cisco people have submitted patches to fix things in the Cisco driver. But because we've been enforcing needing to see a third-party CI, those end up sitting out there.
Oh, yeah.
Code review-wise, they look like they're good fixes. I think we need to decide, are we just gonna let those in? Or
So
are we just?
what about one of the vendors that utilize the Cisco Zone Manager? Operate the version on it then?
Well, there was a vendor that was running it for a while, and it seems to have a very close relationship with that. I don't know if they want to do that anymore.
I'll tell you about it. Assuming those patches that are up actually fix it, maybe, but it caused so much instability that I ended up taking the zone manager out, using static zoning, because it went from like 90+% success rate to like 30% with it turned on, just because it's not set up to handle like multiple zone managers managing the same switch.
So what's the value of keeping that in there then? Because if Procate's gonna keep testing theirs, that's great, so leave that.
Yeah, that's another option too, is we can have the Cisco drivers unsupported, and then we have a single driver feature. It works with Brocade, and that's it. If you need fiber channel zone management, you use Brocade.
Or do we just mark the Cisco one as unsupported? What does it say?
Unsupported, well,
So here's. But you know the bit rot, right? I mean, you know it's gonna bit rot.
yeah, it's
Pretty nice.
So, I mean, John will probably disagree, but I think having the zone manager in there is something that gives value add to Cinder as a solution that a lot of other
I agree,
SDS doesn't have.
but it doesn't work.
It does.
So no, it doesn't. I know yours works.
Brocade.
Right, the Brocade one works, so that's great. So that's cool.
But on the Cisco patches, these people are obviously developing against something. I mean,
I had the impression though that the people submitting these fixes were people trying to use Cisco and fixing their own bugs, rather than relying on their vendor to actually take care of it.
exactly. So this is ridiculous, but can we say, hey, did you run this on Cisco hardware and make sure it works? And, you know, maybe they'll lie to us, but we did due diligence if they say that. If, you know, or what? What?
Nothing. So I don't need to run the CI on my driver, as long as somebody patches, right?
What?
Say that again?
So,
If you follow that logic.
Yeah.
so what I'm saying, look, what I'm saying, all I'm saying is, I'm by no means saying take out zone manager code.
Okay.
Brocade's testing it, it works, that's great. So that should definitely stay there. There's no question about it.
Agreed.
What I'm saying is, if Cisco's not involved anymore and they're not testing it and running it, and nobody is picking that up and testing it, it's pretty black and white to me that we should not have that in there advertised as something you can use. We don't know if it'll work or not. And in fact, all the evidence that Patrick has says that it doesn't work.
Yeah.
I don't understand why this is a debate.
So the issue has ever always been of, well, if we only have one driver, why are we doing this?
That's fair.
But
Well,
I-
there's two different.
yeah, I think, but what you're saying is right, you know, it works with Brocade and it's useful, so we should keep it in there. Yeah, I'm leaning, we should just mark Cisco as supported.
I mean, Brocade, if you want to use fiber channel in Cinder, then Brocade is the answer,
Yeah,
right?
and Rocky, we will remove Cisco unless things change, just like we do with volume drivers.
And I think you go to the mailing list and you say, hey, and even maybe the operators list, and you say, hey, if there's
Yeah.
anybody out there using this,
we
that
definitely
wants to
should put it on the
stick
operators.
around, we need help.
Yeah, that's where I was gonna go next, is let's get an email to the ops list and the dev list and say, look, this hasn't been tested for a while, patches are coming in. Person previously testing it can't do that anymore. Is there anybody who's willing to pick this up? Other words, we're looking at removal happening. And see what kind of response we get.
I think we should also, at the same time, mark it unsupported. And if someone does step up and volunteer to run CI for them, we can revert that. But with the state of it now, I think we should, it's probably overdue to mark it as an unsupported driver.
Okay. And to some extent, I was playing devil's advocate too, so. That's cool. Just trying to figure out what our options are here, so, so agreement is we will mark.
Yeah,
Let's go.
Yeah, I would think that if there are, vendors with backends that have customers that will use Fibre Channel and Cisco, the pressure will actually go to them to address this and make it work anyway, right?
Say that again, I'm sorry.
And
Oh, you're saying if we send this out and people get pissed, they'll go to Cisco for us and put pressure.
no, what I'm saying is, if I were somebody that had a Fibre Channel device, and I had customers that wanted to do OpenStack with my device and wanted to use Cisco Zone Manager,
Yep.
then I would have a vested interest to figure out some way to test this or make it work to do something. Right? So even if Cisco can't or doesn't or whatever.
It's been 203 days since the Cisco CI reported success. I think
That's a record.
That's a lot of days.
Did it report failure since then, or did it go quiet?
looks like it lasted about a week before they shut it off or it died.
Quick, turn it off. That's what I do. Shit, it's failing, turn it off.
So I'm probably gonna forget this, but what if, so remember we had this great idea a while back about doing like periodic checks for things?
Yeah.
What if, hypothetically, I were to go and like run the stupid thing turned on like, once a month or something, make sure it still works?
So
I mean, like, is that,
I think that's fine.
As long as there's some kind of a known CI that is running against it that reports success within our required time period, then it should be okay.
So who's gonna fix it when you find a problem?
it's a good question.
He is.
Okay.
I mean, it depends on how broken it is. If it's like a, we don't, like code doesn't really change much, right? Like,
Yeah.
hasn't really seen, they did like one set of changes and that was pretty much it. So I don't expect it'll break much, if any, right?
It's never broken now.
Well,
He can fake a CI run to make it look
Yeah.
good for that.
once a month, I can get you a pass, no problem. It might take a few hundred tries.
I thought I heard that there were patches. That were like,
Yeah, there are some.
like, are you gonna test those patches and tell us that they're good?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, I can't really like commit entirely, but as an option, if we wanted to try and keep it around, would that, like, say if it's not me, right? Say we put it on the ops list and some poor soul who actually is using these things, they test it every few weeks or something, right? Because the barrier to do that versus like, setting up a constant dev stack thing that runs 20 times a day is like way different.
So can I ask one question? Why are we jumping hoops for Cisco, but not Brocade? Like, I mean, why does Brocade have to put in so much effort to keep a CI running, but Cisco doesn't? But this has been the case, forever.
I agree with you, Andrew. That was what I was trying to say earlier.
I mean, all drivers should have the same vested interest, and if they don't have an interest in keeping their CI running, which I admit Brocade has been, lacking lately, but, then we should all be treated equally.
Yeah, you're totally right.
You're right.
Well, we could lower the bar for everybody.
I mean,
That was gonna be my next comment.
The bar is pretty low, but.
Yeah, well, it's unofficially pretty low, right?
Yeah.
If you look at what we tell people, it's pretty high, but it's actually very low.
Well, we all pretty much agreed in Atlanta that we could change it, right?
Yeah.
We just need make it official?
I don't even remember what we had to do to get there.
What we were going to do was we were gonna set up a no-op job that ran once a week, that all CIs should have, for no reason they shouldn't pass it, and make sure everybody passed it. And a no-op job that basically should fail on everybody, and make sure that we get the right results.
And then they must also respond to triggers specifically for their CI.
Like run.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Run Brocade CI.
So maybe we should start doing that.
Well, somebody that submits patches to big unit tests, there's a lot of people that report failures on patches that can't possibly be failures. That's constant.
So
I'm more interested in the patch that breaks something and seeing how many respond to success, because we've actually had some of those and found that they've been running against LVM for the last year. So,
Good thing LVM gets tested.
well, not only just LVM, they weren't running the patch, they were running against master.
Did you just say unit test?
Yeah.
So what happens then when the unit test from other vendors? Because
He's saying
According to
that
CI,
Effectively, no opportunity to cause failures.
Oh,
That applies to code when it failed, no matter what. But that's pretty normal. It's, yeah, it's a
Yeah.
bad state.
Or some definition normal, yeah.
Not by my definition. There's all kinds of things outside of Cinder that causes CI systems to go sideways.
Right.
All right, so are the actions up there accurate at the moment? Can we read them? That's where we're gonna go. And we're going to ignore Patrick's goodwill offer.
that wasn't an offer, that was a hypothetical.
Yeah, he was very clear. He made it very clear that it was a hypothetical.
That was very politically.
That was me leading us into the I want to run my CI once a month conversation.
Nice work.
Oh. Dirty.
I'm good with the actions that were.
Like go to check the papers again.
Don't look at it right now. Give me like a few hours.
Let me do my once a month run.
Yeah.
The requirement's every 2 weeks though, so. Sorry.
Yeah, it's all right. That's negotiation.
Lines. All right. I don't, let's not rat hole on the CI question. If we have time Friday morning and we want to cause ourselves further pain, we can talk and maybe.
Isn't that how we ended it last time? Too?
Yeah, that was how we ended it last
We
time.
can't have that be our tradition.
We can do it at the bar. All right. Okay, next topic. Create volume from backup.
Pool party.
Okay,
It's you again, Tommy.
yes,
You had a brief break.
yes, about the quick volume from backups, we know that we already have two different approaches to solve these cases. One is that we can create volumes without, create volumes with, restore the backup without volume IDs, so that Cinder will create the volumes in the background, right? And the second approach is that we can create volumes and we use that volumes to restore the backup, then the process is finished. But they do have the limitations. For the first approach, we just restore the backup without volume IDs. We create the volumes, but we cannot specify the volume types, the size, and the AZs and the other attributes. And for the second approach, create and restore, we just have two different APIs for this case. So since we have already have the created volumes by snapshots and image IDs, and I'm just wondering if we can move one step forward to support the case that we can create volumes from backup.
So in general, I like idea, but I don't want to limit the APIs because in such case we have to add volume type, volume size, volume, any volume attribute. So, from my point of view, it's not a big deal to call CDI twice, one for create volume and the second for restore the cup to this volume.
Or,
You could go the other way though.
yeah,
You could have a Cinder create volume minus backup, give a backup ID, and then like Cinder go and communicate with the backup service. And,
Oh, good, sounds good.
well, I don't know if it's a good idea or not, but but
It's like,
I think that's the idea, is that you be a volume create with a backup ID option.
that's two.
Choose one.
No, that's two for today that I agree with you.
You're doing really good.
He's
Much-
2 for 5.
That's still really good.
Much better than my first time around. And you haven't left the room crying, so you got me too, so. I'm kidding.
I'll try harder next time.
On me?
If you weren't actually leaving the room crying, yeah, apparently I need to work harder.
No, I don't think I was.
You stayed in the room. Stayed in the corner.
You get under the desk.
Well, I was gonna say, there's a few different things going on here. I mean, stuff like specifying size of name sounds like it's pretty easy to add if we wanted to. That's pretty minor API change, I think.
You mean to the, and do it in the backup?
In the restore.
To restore.
Restore.
Yeah. So, the only thing that I don't like about that, is we've got a nice, consistent API right now for creating volumes.
Yeah.
Right? And unless there's like a problem and it doesn't work to do it that way, I don't see why you would go and add it to the backup API. Just for consistency.
I mean,
I do like this idea of creating a backup ID.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like everybody else goes to Cinder create help, and you get a snapshot, you get image.
You mean OpenStack volume help?
Yeah, what you said. Did I say Cinder? Sorry. But no, I think having one-stop shop is probably the better way to go.
Which would be the Cinder create.
Yeah.
Cinder
I
creates
mean,
deals with better
OpenStack create.
Is there anything in the backup restore part that would be missing here?
Bless you.
Would this be just basically saving the customer one call?
There's more to it.
No, I think if that's.
No, but I mean, it's not, you can't just add dash backup. Like, you gotta figure out, like, if you do Cinder create and you give it a size that was bigger than the backup size, are you doing some kind of extend operation? And there's all kind of, you gotta go through all that stuff and figure it out.
What do we do for a snapshot?
Yeah, it's so great, snapshot.
So what I would like
Yes,
to
John.
see things like that all ignored. So if you were to do this, right, there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to just have Cinder gather the information and create the volume in the correct way
That's what I'd like.
and remove the possibility and chance of error
Yeah.
from the user. Rather than correct a user's error.
I wasn't talking about here, I was talking about if they actually bigger.
Well, I mean, by the
It's a
size,
weird case.
size is the example.
Yeah.
You mean
You can always extend it out.
to limit the
Yeah.
options of the user, for example, to create a volume from the backup, with a different size of the backup.
Yeah,
Every time that the user creates a volume from the backup, will be the same size of the backup, the same properties of the backup.
I mean,
Then they
that's,
can do an extend afterward.
yeah, that seems to be the purpose of a backup.
or you could have, so one of the things I thought about before that I would have liked to have done, like for clone and snapshot, and create volume from snapshot, is make the size argument optional, right? So by default, it would just create the resource of the same size.
So that actually is gonna be one of the big problems with the OpenStack client form, this,
Well-
size is required right now.
But, well, so here's the thing. Yeah, you're absolutely right. The problem is this OpenStack client, and I keep meaning to talk to Dean about this. They've got a bigger problem now anyway, because of the microversion stuff. So, I mean, right now, the strategy is just to do the base microversions, right? But that means that anything that gets added going forward, there's no way they're gonna be able to implement all of them. Unless they just continue to do the pass through into the client, which is fine, but then, right? We've got bigger problems on that front, at least I think, unless Dean's already figured out a solution. Maybe he has.
OpenStack client requires volume name too, for example.
Well, we could probably use the client part of this.
That's
Yeah.
And just figure out the server side of the feature.
We have a whole slew of bugs against drivers because of this, clone and create from snapshot where they didn't realize if you clone a volume, you might want a different size.
Oh, we're starting to back up. Maybe people don't want that anyway. Maybe they do want to just restore the same size. I don't know.
I think,
Why would you?
Yeah.
Why would you restore a backup and want something different?
But I think that's one of the points of the proposal, to actually have something different.
I'd rather be the same size and then extend it.
So let me give
I
us
think
an actual,
that's.
let me give like an actual more useful example. If we ignore the size part for a minute and think more about the type side of things. Because that's actually something people would do, is pick different types, particularly if they want to restore it as encrypted or unencrypted. Those things.
There would need to be some validation. If the backup is unencrypted, not restore it to an encrypted volume, right? What happens when you back up the encrypted volume? Does it stay encrypted, or does it get unencrypted, or does it get re-encrypted?
I knew the answer as well. For a while, at one point, I got encrypted twice.
Wow.
Yeah.
That might be okay.
What it should do,
little super secret.
what it should do is how we do it with clients after the fix is undone, but the client's uploaded. And in that case, we upload it encrypted, and we have an identifier telling you what encryption key you get with it.
Yeah,
So it should do that.
That would seem like a bad security thing if someone has encrypted the volume and then backing it up and just.
Right. Well, and I think that's actually, I think we would back it up, just not caring that it was encrypted previously. But the problem is, then when you restore it, that's fine in your fixed key thing, but if you're using Barbican, you don't have different keys, and then you don't know how to decrypt it.
We need to manage it, volume type when you're restoring. That makes sense.
Well, for the encryption, I guess, I mean, he's just talking about remembering what key is associated with that volume.
Yeah.
You can't find the right key, it's triggered. I'm still confused about why we couldn't make the size an optional one. It just, that was not right.
We could, I'm just not sure. I think the argument against it was that we had a bunch of bugs and drivers and something similar.
Yeah.
Which is, I don't know.
Well, I think John said, like, if you're creating the snapshot or from something that already has a size and you're happy with the size, you shouldn't have to just type anything on the command line.
Exactly.
It should just,
Yes, and that, the problem is that's not the case everywhere right now.
That should probably change anywhere.
It should change.
so that seems like something worth fixing, and then once that's fixed, don't specify it for your background.
So in the way you could solve that, for the OSC thing, and then also for the cases where you need size and stuff like that, is you could just create an API call that says restore volume, create from source, and then. So rather than create volume, it would actually call the same stuff in the implementation.
I mean, you want the same benefit for like create volume and snapshot, right?
Right, but that's why I'm saying what I would do is I would let somebody come up with a clever name, because I'm not good at clever names. But a clever name, huh?
Flaming out.
Yeah, there you go. So like a new API call that was, restore from just cinder restore dash from, and then minus backup ID, minus snapshot ID, minus volume ID, whatever it was. And then let that just do that, right? Because that would at least eliminate the OSC problem and the other problems and the existing size things. I don't.
Would we then deprecate the existing
No.
creates?
I'd actually rather see OSC change, and you should be able to create a volume from a snapshot and not have to know what size. But yeah, that's an option.
It would probably be easier and make a hell of a lot more sense to do that.
So that's what we want to do.
And there it is. That is exactly correct. Gorka, I'm sorry that I keep running my CI against your patch over and over and over again. I just realized I keep using the same patch.
That actually was Johnny's suggestion. That's what I thought you said. I thought we were talking about just doing it in create.
No, we were, but that was his, a secondary proposal.
Oh,
Yeah, I think that's
Don't
preferred.
put that on there, just delete that.
Okay.
It was obviously a bad idea, you know.
When we say we should not get the size or whatever, is should not, but we will accept it if it comes in. So the original volume is one.
We already do accept it today, so.
Yeah, no, I mean for the create volume from backup, if it would automatically do the resize.
I think if the size is specified, I think we should try and honor it, and if it's not correct, I think we should error. I don't think we should automatically adjust.
That can solve a lot of problems. A lot of.
Well, that's what I'm asking.
Because it's optional if you specify it.
You should just return the EPIN.
Yeah.
Can't do that.
Two gig volume backup. If you don't say it should create a new 2 gig volume. If you say 4, it should create a 4 gig and store the 2 gig on top of it. If you say 1, which should error and say.
That happens basically for free. There's no like extend operation. You just call.
Right, if you
Oh,
specify.
is it just to create and then we
Restore.
export the data?
Yeah.
I think it's fine.
Yeah. I just don't want it to be, I don't like that it's a mandatory.
All right, I got you.
Well, I think we're being.
I don't know that much about that.
It's silly stuff, I think it's. Secondary, but
Yeah.
it's important.
Good.
It's not important, we have to figure out that now.
Yeah.
Yes?
And what is this inappropriate? Smaller or bigger? This
Smaller.
is smaller.
Wait, what?
What's that's what is done today.
Smaller is inappropriate.
We'll error if it's small.
Well, obviously. So if I have a volume that's 10 gig, and I say, clone this volume to this volume that's 1 gig.
And
There's your answer.
Actually, I think that should be consistent with the backup. If the backup doesn't accept create a volume bigger than the backup, the other API shouldn't as well. It should maybe remove the big.
no, but we.
Because this way you just cause
It's
problems.
not a backup interface, it's a volume create interface.
And we do allow you to clone a volume to a bigger volume.
Right.
Yep.
Sorry, I thought you were asking the opposite. I was like, why is Arlen asking that? Because he's much smarter than that. But yeah, so we do allow the opposite. We allow you to say clone this 1 gig volume to a 10 gig volume.
Yes.
And the way we do it is we create a 1 gig volume, copy the data, and then
The
extend it.
extent, yeah.
So we should.
But can we do with that with the backups?
It's actually easier with backups, because the extend is You don't have to do it.
Okay.
You just create a 10 in the beginning and stores it.
Okay, just make sure that both have the same behavior.
Yeah, that's what we landed on. So do we want an action item, however, to not, to change things so we don't require a size anymore?
I don't even remember what the, like, we have.
It doesn't need to be tied to this different business.
Well, I have it listed as a sidebar.
I mean, I have a whole bunch of.
You should want.
Worry about that.
Eventually, maybe one of them can go away.
Just note it on there, maybe, and we can get to it.
Duplicate all API and.
Oh, yeah, well, that's a good idea, yeah.
So, and in such case, we have to duplicate all the backup store API.
What?
We have to duplicate the backup store API. in such
Wait.
case.
No, why?
Because we will have two different approach APIs to restore backups.
Well, no, your intention to do a restore is different than the intention to have a volume created with the data from a backup.
It's almost the same when you.
It's almost the same. It's almost the same, but it's, the intention behind the operation is different.
We can the create volume API just route the request to the backup restore API, how to do it how it is.
Backup API.
At this way, go to change the restore API to not allow to create new volumes.
Why?
Who has permission to
Why
backup
do
API?
Why do we need to have two different APIs for the same thing?
It's not the same. It's kind of the same
I
thing.
think it might be the same.
It would make sense to have two, if, for example, for the backup API, only the admin could use the backup API and he could access all the volumes, while with the create volume, you can restrict the permission of a user to access only his volume. I don't know how it's implemented, the backup API. Can you access? Can you access in the backup API today? What are the permissions for calling the creating from the restoring? What are the permissions? When you want to restore a volume, any user can call the backup API or only the admin?
Any user, by
Any
default, any user.
But so it's the same. There's no permission in terms. Guilt.
Duplication.
Yeah, do we have to deprecate the restore API now?
I think it's gonna be mostly the same code, yeah, but, yeah, but as a user coming in, the commands I look for and the things I wanna do, if I'm trying to restore a backup, I'm gonna go look at the backup commands. And if I'm trying to create a volume, I'll see that. Just, I don't know.
Because if you're going to create a volume from a backup, you are thinking about backups. You're thinking about restoring, you go to the API.
Right.
So I think as far as the, deprecating the backup restore API question, I think actually what we should do is probably see what this actually ends up looking like and then decide. But the other thing is you can't actually deprecate.
Yep.
Well, we're not really talking about API so much.
Yeah.
I think.
Do we deprecate the option in the client to do a backup restore to a new volume?
It's still restoring existing volume.
Yeah.
I think what I would do is wait until this new thing was out there and see how it goes.
Yeah, that's what I was saying, it's not the same thing, because I'm reading the API right now, and it's despite all my G, you could restore to an existing one.
Yeah. Yeah, and we
The only
can't
one
take-
with
we don't wanna
force-
take away that ability.
Yeah, so we
Oh.
can leave that there.
So it's really just having that additional option to have a volume created for the restore. And I'd rather not remove it, but
Well, since we need the interface for the other thing.
Yeah.
I mean, we might as well just leave it there.
Yeah, that's the other side of it, right? You're gonna need to call that to do this.
Can we also hold the case when the ID is not specified in the restore API?
You said API, you're talking about the API is shell. Which, we're talking about the client of the API. We keep bouncing back and forth, and I think it's not the same thing.
I think John had a good suggestion. Let's get it implemented, see what it looks like, and then if it seems like it's going to cause confusion, have two different ways to basically.
Restore API.
I agree. I mean, the nice thing to do would be in the client, I'll just keep the old command working like I always did, and just route it to the new.
Yeah.
I think that's a good idea.
Because then it just works, and then all the documentation and usability stuff is more easier to figure out. If you want backups and you type backup, you can find it.
Makes sense.
But that's a whole different discussion from changing the APIs.
Okay. So we will readdress deprecation after we have something.
Also, there are like third-party software, pieces of software that talk to the Cinder backup API. And we kind of be aware of that before we start trying to do stuff.
Does that backup restore command line allow specifying a different size?
I don't think so.
All right, so Tommy, you were going forward with that then?
Another whole thing to think about too, is if we're putting backup and create API instead of backup restore, there may be some difference in progress reporting there that's important for people. Just don't backups, report the percent restore like all they're doing.
What's being born?
You know, the number, or that's just in your creation.
I don't remember. I think I remember seeing that.
It was a recorded demo from Boston. That was one of the things that we did. I just can't remember if it shows this progress bar or not.
Oh, you backed up to Swift, didn't you? God, that feels like that's a year ago. All right, moving on.
Yeah.
We got an hour left, and the more topics we can knock out, the better. So this next one actually ends up being pretty short, because I think I did most of the work yesterday. So I sat in on the Oslo deprecation meeting, and there's a link there to what things they have changed, and I went through and I looked at our code, and I think the only two are the ones that are bolded there that need to be looked at. If somebody wants to double check my work, especially down in the Oslo messaging section, I would not be offended by that. That'd be a good idea. But other words, I think that's all you guys have to do. There's not as much there as I was worried about.
What is get logging values?
You know, what was really sad was I was asking the Oslo team and they didn't really tell me.
But we need to edit this in new context.
So,
Sounds about right.
yeah, so I need, yeah, I asked twice for an explanation. They said, yeah, you need to add that to Cinder context. And then, why? And I'm like, because.
It has something to do with logging the user that's making the request or something.
I will leave it to the implementer to investigate.
The cores one actually might. Yeah, that's not a code thing, that's like a deployment config thing. I don't know. So they're just saying take it out of the default setup. And why are we, like, is it not exist anymore? Or why are we doing it?
Let's see.
I'm just wondering what happens for deployments that like already have that big, are they all gonna break unless someone changes the config?
Middleware. Searching. Again, they just have a list of changes they're making without explanation.
Well, what are we supposed to do? Did they talk about the thing that you got to fix?
This was in,
Oh, it's in our code too.
yeah, it was in, I don't remember where it was at, but we have, I want to say it was, that wouldn't have been in context, would it? No.
It's in the middleware stuff.
Yeah, that's right. It was in the, somewhere in the middleware, but we do have a section that's using Core's defaults for setup, so.
So the commit having the contact, the git logging, whatever, git logging values says that there are now context-aware attributes in Oslo log, which will enable future improvements for common and project-specific logging format parameters. Okay.
Good luck with all of that.
So we just get to delete everything that says core, and we that will be like break stuff or not.
Manually inspect the logs.
Yeah, but we have to know what we're looking
Users will tell us in about a year and a half.
We still haven't fixed the,
So any other questions on that?
I think that basically adds like 5 new values for login, like username, project name, domain name, user domain name, and project domain name. I think that's all that.
Right, but I'm wondering if we're removing it because there's some Oslo thing that kind of does that by itself now, or if they just, if we're supposed to not want that.
Do you mean remove it? Where are we adding it?
No.
No,
But I don't know if that means we're removing a feature or if we're just removing some code. I'm not sure which way.
so. Fix.
Here it says, need to add get login values. It's not, I was talking about get login values.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it basically just adds 5 more things to log. It added to
I'm not worried about
okay.
that. Let's just try to figure it out.
I'm doing slower.
So if you guys can follow up on those, I appreciate it. else we have there? Okay. Okay to move on? All right. I'm gonna pull in from tomorrow, Cinder. Okay. So, let's see how many of these topics we can get through. So we have the Cinder managed versus service risk output discussion that came up in the meeting a couple of weeks ago. Anybody thought further about that?
I think we kind of already figured out the whole thing, what they should have, but it.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I'll,
I think that was a question.
I thought we already did this, but I'll just explain my argument again of why we need to do it. Whichever one truncates the host name to just the first part without the full domain on it.
Yep.
Makes no sense because that's not how host names work. And if you have a host called cinder1.something.com and cinder1.somethingelse.com, that's really useless and you can't figure out which one is which.
Okay.
So you might as well just make them both print the whole name.
Okay.
If somebody didn't set FQDN, then we can just get the other name and talk.
Okay. And actually, there was a patch that went out for that, wasn't there?
I think so.
I thought so. I thought that's what spurred the.
Okay.
But
And that's right, we were in agreement.
I guess the owner of that patch isn't here.
Oh. But this was.
Use it for answering.
Oh, but the question was, do we want to keep the ability to show the services through Cinder Managed?
Yeah, that's a whole bigger question.
Right,
The first part.
okay, I'm sorry. I was,
I'm trying to find
Yeah,
that.
and we actually answered that too.
we did?
Well, in my opinion. Because, and it actually was said in the IRC meeting or whatever, you have to have Cinder managed because it has a lower level command and it looks at the database instead of hitting an API. And so it works more often than the other one.
Okay.
So
I
this
yield
was-
to the gentleman from Red Hat. I think I was the only one that had it.
I will not yield. Okay, no, I don't think it should go either, so.
I mean, Cinder managed is
It's
fundamentally.
very useful, especially on some troubleshooting where the API doesn't work.
I do think one of us needs to log a bug and add the API service to Cinder managed services. Or Cinder services, whichever one is missing from.
Is it not in there?
No, I think John, you said it was there, and I thought so too, but then I.
It used to be there. I mean,
Oh, really?
yeah, so
Maybe that's why, because I thought so too, and then I checked later and realized it's not.
I'm wondering if the Apache stuff,
Oh,
That's the same thing I was just thinking. So what is it checking whenever it looks for the API?
I had thought it was, I assumed in the past, and assumed that it was just getting it from the database like everything else, but obviously it's not. So,
I don't know.
but the problem and the reason why is there's actually no mechanism to know where a Cinder API service is anymore. So you can have a Cinder API service running somewhere and not necessarily, there's nothing in Cinder that says, oh, hey, this is my Cinder API service.
So does anyone actually ever use this to see if their API services up?
I used to, but it's been years.
I do.
So, well, you don't anymore. Nobody does it anymore.
Because for the scheduler and volume, it's looking at like AMQP or something.
Yeah.
So
It's reports the API, doesn't it?
No.
No?
I have
Oh. I guess I
there's no
didn't
bugs to
know.
this, right?
There are not.
There is no.
All right. How many minutes? test again, I hear.
Man, that thing's gonna burst into flames.
No, it can't. You can even have a functional test.
You know it's gonna take off.
Where'd you hear that?
Right. So I think we're done on that one.
Kind of on the same vein, wasn't there, Roca, didn't you have an issue with a new command line saying, why are we adding this option when we already can do it through this?
No, my problem was not, it's about the force something.
Yeah,
That's more, my problem is that the batch needs to be consistent. Because if you try to dash force with API 3.03, it will fail. It's not, the command, how it's coded is not smart enough if it can do one thing or another.
So you want to fall back to the whole.
Well,
So
you
just
must-
internally to the command, it should be smart enough to.
if I
Python
say
Cinder client, it should know.
delete dash force, it should always work. I don't care what backend I have.
So we just need a little logic in there to know, okay, I'm not at this API version, so I need to follow.
Yeah, you will not be able to do cascade deleting or
Okay.
whatever,
Yeah,
but you should be able to do a force delete of a single volume. Right now, with the code as it is, if you try with 3 or whatever, I put it in the comments,
okay.
for
Yeah.
delete dash force, it will say that it cannot run the command because minimum version for the command is 330 or 340. It's like, what?
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, okay, yeah.
It's basically make it consistent so users can actually always use it.
Yeah, gotcha, okay.
Okay. Next topic I had was to find out where we're at on testing or grading testing for active HA.
That's a very good question.
That's the one I asked.
It's your topic.
Well, this was it on HA in itself, or was it on the driver?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's the driver part. Because I think
The
I
injection
saw,
library,
What?
the injection library.
I was after all the multipath mess with ISCSI, finally started working on it like last week or something like that. So right now I can only do changes to the API and I still have to propagate the injections to other services.
But you have a way to inject things in the service.
Right now, yeah, only to the API, that's not, no. You should, the injection needs to be able to propagate, you make a request to the API with an injection, and it needs to be able to propagate the scheduler to the backup of the volume service. Because if we want to actually test that the volume, the driver is properly functioning and things like that, you have to be able to be very specific when the failure is going on. Otherwise, you don't know if the driver should have done something, shouldn't have, Cinder should have created the worker entry, shouldn't have. You don't know because you don't know when you break, when you're stopping one of your services. So you need to be able to run tests. You cannot go blindly saying, okay, I request a create volume, I break it, I just kill the service, but where was, when did it die? So,
To understand how it's working for the API, you said you can do for the API?
yeah, it's not very nice right now. The proof of concept is basically, okay, is setting a header so that the code that is, it's in the middle of the, how would you say? I created a factory for the base API. So what it does is it replaces the last call to the API entries, stays there, checks the data that comes in. If it's an injection, gets the injection data, passes and makes the injection, whatever it is. In this case, right now I can only introduce delays, but replaces the place you wanted to introduce the delay, and then calls the API.
Okay.
Right now, I have yet to propagate it to plugin or whatever.
I remember we had talked about the idea of doing something in the Python debugger. So we could, I don't know if that even it's possible in Python to set breakpoints, and we had a way to define those breakpoints and where and run the cinder services through the debug, through the debugger, the debug mode. So when the execution flow got to a certain point with some defined, predefined predefined delays and I don't know, predefined delays, you could just stop in that way, and I don't know.
And that would be the next step, because the basic step is actually to be able to inject things and do something else, and then propagate. That's the basic you will need for anything you want to do. The next step is to not allow the caller to define the actions, the injections, and have a preset injection defined on the service, let's say. So I have my cinder service and I say, okay, I have 3 or 5 of error injections that are possible to do, and they are defined there, where they should happen, what should happen, but that's the next step. First, I just want a proof of concept where you can actually say, okay, inject a delay in this method in the volume service and do it from outside when calling the API.
So if with the scheme that we're doing now, it's only possible to do in the API, isn't possible to
Well, no, it's not I haven't had time to actually go and propagate, because you have to be able to propagate, you have to be able to know when to inject. Right now I'm going to do the most basic stuff, which is basically you add the injection data into the payload that you transmit, and you remove it on the reception end, which is what I'm doing right now. On the API, which is not nice, you usually would want the injection data to be out of the transmission. Right now I'm doing it inbound, and that's how it's going. But anyway, you will need at any reception to inject the error. It doesn't matter if the data comes in the payload or not. When you receive a request, you have to check, does this request have an error to inject? Or should I inject an error on this specific request? So now I need to create the code to actually be able to do that when you send RabbitMQ messages and when you receive them.
Yes.
So once I have that, I will have the possibility within Cinder to inject any place. And then the next step is to be able to do between services. Because when you do, for example, a Nova touch, it comes, the injection you may be requesting it on the Nova side, on the Cinder side, or because Nova actually calls Cinder, they go forward and backward, and you may want to inject there or whatever you want. Because if you make the attach request and you want to actually test that that the active works properly, when you fail one or when you do whatever, you're actually making the request to Nova, not to Cinder. So Nova received the injection and doesn't know what to do with it. So it should be able to send it through the API to Cinder. Basically, I'm working on the part of having a library that will allow us to to define tests that would, whatever we want to do, we should be able to do it in any service, in any method we call, but we still have to define what we want to actually test. And that part should probably, I think vendors probably know best what kind of things, because I can look into the RDP driver and figure out which places could be problematic when running in different nodes and things like that. But for other drivers, I don't know which are the limitations they have. I really don't know.
Would be only the core part of the implementation that would need to be tested, because for I brought from the testing, you would only need to emulate those fail, it's not fail, you would need to emulate when a service went out or a host went out, you have to emulate that.
That's one of the things we have to test. When things fail, that the other one can actually clean up and things like that, but you also have to test what happens if two requests comes at the same time in two different nodes. So that's also something we have to test.
Yeah, but do that is related to the way the driver processes the thing, because I can see how the driver is related to the testing. It should be transparent to the driver.
I think there are some drivers that, for example, may need to block when you try to initialize a connection and they need to create a special group or whatever in the backend. What happens if two requests for attach on the same backend come at the same time and you try to create both try to create the same group, one of them fails and it doesn't have a mechanism to say, oh, I have failed because it already exists. Let me try again. Because if the flow is check if it exists, if it doesn't create it, then use it. And you don't take into account that when creating, even if you check, there could be a race condition with another node, you will fail. One of the attach will actually fail because it's only thought to prevent.
Well, the solution is the locker.
Yeah, but the thing is that we were saying that we need to test the cinder core code, like when you stop a process in the middle that you can do the cleanup properly, it creates the worker table or whatever. And we also need to test the drivers.
Yeah, that particular case is those because you're doing the state check of the API. That case.
No, some checks we do at the API, at the initialized connection.
Okay.
It can go and at the initialized point, maybe you need to create something if it doesn't exist in the backend. And you check, it doesn't exist, you create it. And since you may have a local log only for that process, it works if you only have one node, but if you have two nodes, it may fail because it does the check, it doesn't exist, create, and one of them will fail.
So actually, anything that doesn't have any lock at all will fail even today with single node.
Yeah.
So the only difference is things that have locks, they need to be global locks instead of local locks. And then shouldn't you expect it to be honest?
Well, I'm not that sure.
I guess you can always have that programmers.
Because on the same node, you are actually preventing since we're using green threads and not real threads, you may be having some kind of locking based on which method calls you are doing. If you are calling, for example, a C library, that call automatically is preventing any other thread from doing anything. So you are having a lock without knowing. And when you have two nodes, that lock, which you didn't know you had, would not be there. So it's kind of tricky. That's why I say, I don't know which drivers use external libraries, and if those libraries are Python, or they are C, or they are just calling a subprocess, I don't know. So depending on the drivers, they will need.
So what's the testing methodology of the Python products?
That's the fun part. I can look into RBD and define what RBD needs to do so. But I don't know your backend. I don't know what are your limitations. When you design the driver, I don't know why you put locks.
No, that's what I mean. So we gotta go look at our driver to figure out what to test, or where do we put this test?
No, the idea is we should collect the kind of tests that for NetApp, I think these are the cases that we need to look at. And probably some of the drivers have similar problems. So we would collect them and we should run those tests in all drivers. Because you may know for a fact that you have a problem here, and I may not realize that I have the same problem. So if we define tests for everyone, like we all come up with tests, I will say I have these 5 tests that I have to test for RPD, because I know for a fact that I have logs in them. I want to verify that the DLM is working properly and I don't have any problems. And these other cases, which I'm not sure, whatever, we will want to run those also on Meta, just in case you're also affected by the same. I mean, because yes, each driver will have each specific problem, but we should run those on at least that's what I think.
The problem with this class of bugs is even if you have all the tests, even if the bugs are not fixed, you might not catch them most of the time, right?
Right. But at some
That
point,
bothers me.
yeah, well, it bothers me also, but either we want targeted tests or we just start eating randomly, and when it fails, we need a way to reproduce what happened here. Like you start throwing random stuff like create, delete, create, that's not super.
If there was a way to introduce big sleeps to certain critical places.
That's what
to
I'm saying.
Guarantee races.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, that with the fault injection mechanism, you will be able to insert delays, exceptions, return different things, call different methods, a lot of stuff, wherever you want it. Before calling this method, you will be able to inject a delay. After calling, instead of calling this, return an exception. Things like that. You will be able to do it, but we need to know what we want to do.
Okay, but if you write that test, and then where you inject the sleep for NetApps can be different than where you inject the sleep for SolidFire, how do you write that test?
Yeah,
To work on the drivers.
Yeah, first we need to know which test we actually want to run, and then we can figure out if we create, how we create those per driver specific. Yes.
Taking a step back, so for each request, you send the message that should go to the serial volume service to all instances of the serial volumes.
No. You only send it to one.
So if you send only to one, why do you need a global lock? Or there is only one serial volume service performing the action?
No, one action, but you may be doing multiple actions.
Okay.
So yeah, I have 4. I send one request to you and to them. You send one to each.
Yeah.
And some operations may not have anything to do with the others.
Yeah, if it is related to the same volume, then you need a global lock. Yeah.
Same volume or same group, or I don't know if, for example,
Same
if
resource.
you're creating a consistency group, you can only add 1 at a time, and if you try to add 2, it breaks. I don't know.
Yeah.
And I really couldn't tell. And that's
Okay, can you, I don't know if it's clear to people who owns the driver, how much would we find out what exactly we would need to test in related to how did you do? You said that for SEF, you know what are the process.
I have to look into it.
Ah, you have
figure it
to.
out. Yeah, I will have to read the code and run it in my head and see, okay, to know in the back end, what can go wrong.
Can you scheme basically so we can start thinking to our drivers? Scheme basically what you would thought to describe exactly what you need to do, just so we can understand the process of creating this.
I can try to start looking into the RBD driver and give some of the things I've learned, so I can maybe help as a pointer. I will also try to write a little bit of documentation on the different types of logs that we currently have. The process, the in-process and the internal types, and how to use them, and how to the formatting works. I can certainly write that. But yeah, I will look into the RBD case and see which are the tests that I would like to see done for that driver.
Then we can go with your.
Yeah.
In other words, you're just gonna keep working on developing the test framework for it.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you for continuing to work on that. All right, anything else on that one? Okay, thanks for the update, appreciate it. All right, so just a couple minutes to share the user survey feedback with you guys. Since I thought it was interesting, you guys will as well. My takeaway was that we're doing the right things, at least in many cases. Okay. All right, so this was, we had 31, oh no, 53, I was wrong. 53 responses to the question, there's one thing you'd like to see changed, added, removed, fixed in Cinder, what would it be?
Are you in the working Loki service?
Yeah. No, I didn't fill out the survey.
Oh, okay. Is that Excel 2007?
There we go.
Yes, it is.
What the hell?
Can you make it bigger?
Yeah, you need to make it bigger.
Let me do that.
Can you upgrade?
I don't know, that was too long ago, that was 10 years ago.
That's a real challenging font.
You gotta make the cell larger too, so we can read it.
So like full
There's
screen.
There's Zoom. Bottom right corner, there's Zoom. There's no one
Oh.
It's too late. It's too late.
Cells integration, are you serious?
Yeah, I couldn't believe that that was one of the comments.
I think we're gonna have to.
Nope.
Why is it?
Why?
Well, maybe not. So
Well, you are gonna have some, if you wanna, if you wanna put storage in cells.
Are they sorted by priority or number of
Alphabetical
requests?
order.
Sorry?
Alphabetical order. No, these are single respondents. So, so active singular volume is on there.
The first one.
We're working on that. We've got patches out there for better Z support.
You just skipped over some things.
Add multi-capture volumes.
Better backup support is all volumes.
They want us to be
Better error,
better.
sorry, you have to be more specific.
Yeah, they do.
Better integration with Melba.
What, is that really a
I
thing?
don't know.
That's more, yeah, that's more normal.
Meetings.
Yeah.
What's this better scaling with iSCSI OVM?
They want
Probably not
it,
gonna do it.
they want it more production ready, you know?
They want LVM to go beyond the 2 terabyte limit or whatever.
Oh, okay. Better vendor drivers, I don't know.
They're gonna do it better code.
Yeah. Less bugs.
Well,
It's true in some cases.
Oh, yeah,
How so?
So it doesn't matter.
yeah.
Okay, I was gonna say, I thought that was already done. So or it can be done if you set it up properly, right?
Yeah, I think the takeaway is documentation
I don't know
there,
how many backends it's like.
Okay.
because, yeah, it says both of them running on the same.
16, good enough, call it a day. That's,
Oh,
it
that's
is.
it. I didn't read. Yeah, that already.
Yeah, so that's a documentation fail. Hey Gerald, 17, get on that.
I am just shocked.
I saw that and I just laughed.
Oddly specific.
Anybody that wants it can have it, but you gotta run on power hardware, and you gotta run on power DC.
Maybe they already have all of it.
Yeah,
That's probably what they want.
yeah, they got it, they want it, they got it. I don't understand that.
That's.
So, and this is part of the placement work that's going on, right?
I don't think it does actually work without.
I'm not sure if it'll work, but I'm pretty sure it will work.
Well, I actually put a bunch of stuff in the promises.
Well, John Bernard was working on that.
Was it just for something?
Well, it was covering like.
Are you sure you didn't write 20 and tried to nail it in 40?
No. I don't even know what's on the user survey, actually. I haven't looked at it.
Okay.
Where's road 20, obviously doesn't use this very much.
Yeah.
Created a
How do
body.
we,
Because I feel like we weren't.
That's it.
yeah,
Since then.
yeah. I mean, if you're going to vendor A to vendor A, and they have special.
So I know we talked at one time about a workaround would be to do a snapshot and use that snapshot as your worker and do it that way. Yeah, but the problem is they don't allow you to do a snapshot if it's attached in use, and you don't want to because your file system will be corrupt. Blah, blah, blah. Well, 22 is solved.
Yeah, I was gonna say, standalone.
Well, we're kind of on 23.
Yep. That one's a thing.
Yep.
Being
Fair case,
Yeah. A loose definition of rare.
I don't know about sex, but I don't know what that involving is.
It means orphan law. It means orphan law. I mean,
It means there's something in stuff the center doesn't know about, lost track of.
Right.
so if you run some of the migration stuff, volume migration stuff, you might be able to reproduce this pretty easily. But there are a number of places in that code where you'll be doing something with your created hidden special volume that nobody knows about, and something will go wrong, and that volume I don't know if that's what they were doing or not.
26 is different.
I don't know about one if you're gonna see that.
Yeah, well, that's
We're
the
in maintenance
problem.
mode, right? We're in maintenance mode.
You scroll on the screen.
Multi-attach, multi-attach, multi-attach.
Cinder routing as local versus local storage or network?
Multi-touch and RD.
More Cinder.
Keep up with stuff integration. Nothing could make Cinder better. Nothing.
Nailed it.
Nothing.
Amy, is that really a comment? Actually,
Yeah.
Um,
Cinder backup to RDD or RBD.
Please make Cinder backup.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, that's probably related to incremental stuff.
Okay.
What is that on the survey asking for the developer?
Yeah, kids, right?
Let's make Cinder backup work. Smiley face. Slap. Yes. Rotate secrets in production. I don't know, seems like a bunch of people use that.
Yeah, if you run as admin, you're gonna see it.
So I wonder if that's actually a admin, tenant admin role that they're expecting to have.
Is there a CCC?
There you go. We got one off the list.
45 too? I was thinking of all the different configurations.
Yeah, I think that one had it too. Yep. Something that can drive right. Did Huawei put that in there?
What is that? How would that be? Where'd you go with this?
We're at self-encrypting drives.
And he keeps got like threats.
Just give it the name of the test.
Yeah. Here.
Something that you flashes for dots.
Right.
So for multiple backend, we're back and forth. By the way, we're using Kilo.
Oh, they're using Kilo.
Oh,
I think it's better than
might be already available in the current release.
What the F was that?
Reverse it. Where's that? Works attached to your modification.
So if you just,
All I can see is cheesecake. It's getting close to dinner time.
All I can see is multiple tests.
So speaking of
I go
multi-task,
try it.
What is working Loki service?
they want to work in Loki service.
You Google for it. It's
Yeah.
lots of it, though.
It's locked time.
If you Google for OpenStack, what you should.
Well, one of your repositories.
Yeah. I didn't think it showed me. I'm Loki. Yeah. Yeah, so that actually works, and it's about to get a lot better. But there's one that's really big downside.
virtual.
You have to have the latest version on top.
Yeah. Oh, the virtual. I thought you meant.
Sure, it needs to start. No, Kubernetes is the perfect anti-pattern for that. They require an old, like 3 versions old version. But that's actually gonna get a lot better here, so. Speaking of multi-attach and Inova stuff, so I've actually been working at the same time, kind of.
Is it done?
Close, except I ran into one problem. So I was trying the usage shared targets thing that we talked about. So I wanted to put that in the reserve response, but the reserve response is just a DB call. It doesn't go down to the back end. So the question is, and I think, based on everything I thought about again, I think it's good enough to put that in the actual update when we make a connection. Because before then, we won't care.
Would the update is like when it would actually do like initialize connection?
Yeah.
Has to be before that. Because they have to have already locked by the time they make that call.
So that means, unfortunately, what I probably have to do is make it a column in the volume table and have it populated there. Because I don't want to do a trip all the way down to the back end just to find out if it uses shared targets.
Yeah, so.
And we also don't need that per attachment, to be honest.
Yeah, kind of, because that's when you need it, it's like the attachment time.
Why? But
You could just stick on volume, I guess.
So that's what I came up with, but,
Yeah.
but let's back up a second. Why would I need it on the reserve?
So you need it, it's not that you need it on the reserve, it's that you need it before the actual attach, which happens to be reserved, is the call.
The attach from whose side?
So on the Nova side.
Okay.
Well,
so
on the client, right, whoever's making the call to attach the volume needs to have some kind of synchronization between doing the attachment and like some exclusion for like creating a new export and for it to be like deleting exports and other things like that, right? So it needs to be locked
Otherwise, it's
before.
too late. They need to know if they need to have a lock after they've.
Yeah, they just need to know.
Find out after they've already done.
Right, so they need to know if they have to lock before they create the export, which we sort of just de facto shut it into the reserve because that's the call they make before that, but it doesn't have to be there.
So I guess what I'm saying is if I sent the attachment update call to get the connection info from Cinder.
Okay.
And in that, I included the information that told you whether it was a shared target.
It's already too late. Is it?
Why? Because you haven't made a call to brick yet.
But someone else might be at the same time, right?
That's okay.
No, it's not. It's not, because, so check it out. Here's the race condition, right? If you go and like, you're trying to do your attachment stuff, and like, you don't lock, right? And you go tell it to create an export. If brick is in the middle of trying to decide how to attach, detach a volume, and suddenly a new export shows up, you can screw up some of the steps. There's race conditions there.
Right.
And so like, you can't safely like tear down or add new things while you're adding new exports and stuff, because there's a bunch of weird stuff in there that will go wrong. So they need to be locked anytime that they're adding or moving exports and potentially doing like OS breaker things.
So you can't, so I think there's a misunderstanding then, because if you lock on the reserve call, you're screwed.
No, it's not on the reserve call. It's before the update call.
So, but the update call doesn't, the only place the update call does anything is on the Cinder side.
But it's not just, you don't just lock around calling update. You lock around calling update and doing the OS brick stuff.
Right, but what I'm saying is rather than do that, why don't you just lock around the OS brick stuff?
That's what we do today, and it's not enough, because
We don't lock.
OS brick locks itself.
Why is it not enough?
Because the race conditions where you're adding and removing exports by calling Cinder APIs.
Why?
They have to, it has to be a atomic operation.
But are those race conditions that you mentioned when you create this board chat, the ones that got fixed on a SCSI by removing the automatic scans?
No, because it's the same target. It's not, you're not scanning different targets. So this is what's shared targets. You're adding and removing lines.
So I've decided that there's actually a more fundamental problem here then. Because, so honestly, if I go into brick,
yeah,
and if somebody deleted it before me, right?
Sure.
I shouldn't care because I should look at it as just, oh, it's not there, I have to create it. I have to create the export, I have to log in.
Yeah.
Right?
But you're saying it probably gets deleted while somebody's still using it.
Right, so like this, the main offender of these things
It's still mapped
is
to the
when OS brick goes and says like, let me see about my iSCSI sessions and checks them. It's like, cool, there's one there. And then somebody goes and like tears out an export on the back end. And you like, if you've already like through the OS brick process, if that's all locked, so, nobody's like adding and moving, like, SCSI devices, right? But if it loses connections to the backend, or like, you add a new one in, screws up like OS Brick's idea of like graph counting, how many things are there. Does that make sense? So like, it has to know when to delete things from the system.
So Patrick, is it?
You're not automatically adding LANs anymore on, because usually what used to happen is that when you created a new LAN, the backend usually sent SCSI command saying, hey, there have been changes. And a SCSI initiator will say, oh, tell me all about it. Let's do a full scan. And then everything will come in. But now a SCSI initiator can disable that. And you will no longer, even if you make changes on the backend, in your node, you will not care about that. Because you will not be doing scans. And we are doing, first of all, you will not get those automatically back. And when we are doing scans, we are doing them targeted. So we are only scanning for a specific LAN. So that's why I don't see on the iSCSI case, if you have the latest patches and the latest code, it goes like that. And the latest code from OpenSCSI, or at least the fix that the manual scans, I don't see that race condition, how it could have, when you mentioned.
That's a good point. If we do only ever operate on the LAN, like we never.
We no longer do scans without any filters,
Yeah.
and we prevent the initiator from doing any automatic scans on its own.
Yeah, I guess the bug that I've seen that makes me super nervous about all this is the case where OS Brick needs to log out of the sessions and ends up seeing new things and not logging out, which I think you're fixing, right?
That should be fixed with all the
with like a huge list of caveats. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, that seems like we should be okay. I don't know.
It kind of sounds like maybe I should just put it in the volume.
So Nova calls API get before attaching a volume. So we can retrieve the information from the volume info itself and store it in the BDM or wherever we want.
Well, no, so that's not the problem. I mean, so the problem isn't on the node side. It's still on the cinder side. It's on the cinder side of when do I return that information, how do I return it. And there's no reason why I can't just put it in the attachment reference. I mean, that's fine.
But why would you put it into every single attachment reference when it will be the same thing?
Why do I put driver volume type equals iSCSI into every attachment reference?
We can clean it up if you
Why do I put architecture Linux x86 in every? I mean.
It's not cleaned up yet, but because we stored not related information in every single attachment record, that doesn't mean that we have to shoehorn every other non.
By the same token, why would I put it in every volume record if it's easy? I mean, I'm just saying, you can, there's no perfect answer.
Put it, right?
No,
We don't have a good place to put it.
Yeah, but duplicating it every single attachment record and figuring it out for every single attachment record, that just seems.
Convenient.
So it's convenient, in my opinion, because we have a generic, non-structured place to store it in the database in Nova right now, if we do it in the attachment. If we do it in the volume, we don't have any place to store it.
It will end up in the BDM anyway.
Not from the volume, unless you add a key that adds it to the BDM, and everybody's going to vomit on that.
All right, fine. If you sell that in update, it will be fine then.
No, I'll put it, so what I'll do is I will do a database migration and then OVO version bump, put it in the volume object so that when you do the attachment reserve, because before you do an attachment reserve, I do a fetch of the volume in the database. I'll look and I'll see what is there and I'll copy that into the attachment response, the attachment reserve.
But if you add that to the volume anyway, and you know we call and check the volume before attaching it anyway, then why do you bother?
All right, well, I'll leave it to you then.
I'm just asking.
Because you don't have a place to persist it on the Nova side.
All right, I will ask Matt and John whether it's fine to have its own key and store it in the VM because it will not change and it's backend related info anyway. And if they are fine with it, then we leave it in the volume, and if they are not, we can still put it into any other attachment we turn down. Sounds okay?
Yes.
I just don't want to have the information of like zillion places where
Yeah,
we
no,
save this
that's- yeah, no,
information, and then
that's-
our brain explodes a year from now that why the hell we have this everywhere.
Yeah.
Just saying.
That's right.
Yeah, it seems. Seems like it should work the same way. So that should be fine. And you don't actually have to persist it in, because every time you do, right before you do the call to OS break, every time you do that, we're doing a fresh get of the volume in.
Oh, yeah, that's.
You see. So we don't even have to persist it.
But we still can if we want anytime. I still hate touching the video, so, but.
The only thing that brings us back to is the idea of, do we want to give the hint of what to use as a block?
Good. We'll just change it from a Boolean to a string.
Then it's not your type to,
Get a lot to,
for you, right?
So what means?
Does the lock key be the same?
sorry, wait,
So if we change it to a string, how do I indicate that, hey, I don't use shared targets?
no.
Empty?
Yeah. That might also be confusing, but can we differentiate?
Well, I would change the name and I would just say shared target block key, or block.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
Because empty. Although that screws it up because our plan was to have a default of, yes, use it.
Could be default of post-term or something.
Actually, yeah, that would work. Sorry. Not interested. Of course, he probably knew I was holding it. I was trying to open it. I'm gonna put it in the volume. And I'm gonna put it as a, it's gonna be the lock, shared target lock name, and it's gonna be named off of the Cinder volume service unless somebody overrides it. And if it's a device that doesn't use shared targets, it's gonna be empty string. That's it. Done.
So, on that note, I think we're done for today. Anybody disagree?
I'm done.
I'm the boss.
Aaron just posted that happy hour begun, so.
So, okay, so here's the plan. How many people are here tomorrow? Show of hands.
Tomorrow morning?
Oh, tomorrow morning. Okay, good. So I'm thinking, all right, so immediate. Tonight, 6:30, meet in the lobby. We'll walk over to Casey's, have dinner. And then possibly go over GameWorks for people who are interested in going, playing games and stuff. Tomorrow, meet back here. We need to do a little bit of priority setting for the work that has come up during our discussion. Take a look at anything else that might need to have priorities set for a spec review and what have you. Those of you that can help with install testing, that'd be appreciated. And I think some of us should go through specs and do some reviews and try to get those moved here. So we'll do that in the morning. What?
So they installed testing and started 9 or 10 or?
God be with you.
So I'm kind of thinking, you're gonna do Ubuntu. Can I get one of the Red Hat guys to do Red Hat?
Sure. I'm sure Eric will.
Okay. And then I realized we've got Walt who's got SUSE, so though he may not be doing it tomorrow, he can learn from your experience and do that for SUSE. And then anybody who wants to go grab lunch, we can do that. I still haven't got that for you from you.
I'll do Loki.
Huh?
I'll do Loki.
Okay.
Yeah, right.
And then
Oh, I
that's
just did it.
probably, unless anything is left, for the afternoon, we'll probably kind of wrap up after lunch, or at lunch. Sound good to everybody?
So the answer was 9?
What?
So the answer was 9?
Be here at 9, I'm gonna tell the doc team to show up at 10.
Can we discuss,
Did you talk to Eric? Okay, yes, we can talk about it tomorrow.
So I'd like to be there and I've got a conflict at 9.
Okay,
Too bad.
when will you be
Okay.
here?
I could be here by 10.
Okay.
We can start with the
Too bad.
Yeah, we'll work on the priorities first and then we can get to that after you get here.
Too bad for us.
Thanks for covering.
All right. Thanks for another great day, everybody. I appreciate the attention and pounding through all the topics.
But I was like,
We appreciate you.
oh, you can't.
Don't get sappy.
Down on the right, like,
Come on.
I need your value in.
No.
Now it's like,
No.
No.
how is that not manager? How am I I solved that problem and I'm on to a new problem. Got it. Yeah.
Did you brought it up before?